So Pakistan may be worried about its own army, but Russia is concerned about a private army, the Wagner Group. We told you about their short-lived rebellion and how the Wagner chief was exiled to Belarus. As we speak, he happens to be in St. Petersburg in Russia. Not sure what he's doing there. But we can tell you what Moscow is doing. They're going after his troops, and that too in Syria. The Putin-Prigozhin fight may have started in Russia, but its new battleground is Syria, a country that has been in the grip of a civil war for more than a decade, but this one could be deadlier. You see, Wagner Forces were everywhere. Syria, Sudan, Mali. They had a strong presence in West Asia and Africa. They still do. And all this while, they did Moscow's bidding. They kept a grip on troubled regions. They countered Western influence here. And Syria was one of their first operations abroad. It began in 2015. That's when Wagner deployed its mercenaries to Syria. They fought alongside Syrian forces. They also controlled oil and gas fields in Syria. Basically, Wagner helps President Bashar al-Assad. He keeps his power, and Russia gets influence in West Asia. This is the arrangement. But when Wagner launched a mutiny against Putin, Assad was jittery. Russia sent its diplomat to Damascus. They assured President Bashar al-Assad. On June 26, the Russian deputy foreign minister arrived in Damascus. This was an unscheduled visit. What did he want? He reportedly asked the Syrian government to not let Wagner fighters leave the country, and soon a crackdown began. Wagner offices were raided in 3 places in Syria: Damascus, Hama, and Deir ez-Zor. Their fighters were reportedly arrested. Reports say a prominent Wagner recruiter was also rounded up. His Russian translator was also arrested. Now, all of these were reports by Western and Arab media. What did Wagner say? Nothing officially, but on their Telegram channel, they denied the arrest of their fighters, although they did not deny the raids on their offices. So what exactly is Moscow's grand game plan here? Will it arrest Wagner fighters? Will it replace them with Russian forces? At this point, we don't know. Replacing Wagner fighters is not going to be easy. It will take time. So is the answer another private army? Well, after that mutiny, Moscow would be wary. Also, when the rebellion happened, a lot of countries condemned it. They expressed support for Putin. Guess who did not? Syria. No statement from them. After all, Assad depends on the Wagner forces. He could not have spoken against them. Wagner also has investments in Syria's oil and gas sectors. It has oil extraction contracts, even oil fields located north of Damascus. According to Russian media, 2 companies are controlled by Prigozhin. In 2018, these companies earned $20 million a month. So what happens to them now, the companies in the oil fields? Removing Wagner fighters would put them at risk. You see, Wagner fought the ISIS to capture them. They can't just be left without any protection. And Syria knows that. So does Russia. So going forward, 2 things could happen. 1, a power vacuum. If Moscow removes Wagner and cannot replace it, other players will enter. That means more instability and more fighting, which is bad. But the other scenario is far worse. Uncontrollable mercenary groups. The Wagner group can turn into a hydra-headed monster. You cut one head off, but 2 more will emerge. You remove Prigozhin, but not his men. And Wagner in West Asia becomes an independent branch, a mercenary group that no one really controls. It's hard to say what shape this will take, but whatever it is, we can tell you Russia's troubles are far from over. The unthinkable has happened. Twitter is no longer a monolith. It has a new and exciting rival called Threads. Yes, we had plenty of social media platforms before, but there was only one Twitter. Today, that has changed. Threads is run by Mark Zuckerberg's Meta. It looks like this, sort of a cross between Instagram and Twitter. You need an Instagram account to log in, but the app itself is a standalone one. You'll find Firstpost there. Check it out. And how's the app doing? Well, so far so good. Zuckerberg was heavily involved in the first few hours after the launch. He says 10 million people have signed on. That was then. Since then, the numbers have increased. How does this stack up to Twitter? Well, they have close to 400 million active users. But don't forget, Twitter is almost 16 years old. And now to some important questions. What's the point of this app? Why have they launched it now? Should Elon Musk be worried? And more importantly, should you be worried? Let's deal with the first question first. What is the point of Threads? Well, Meta says this is an app for sharing with text. You want real-time updates? Come to Threads. Public conversations? Again, come to Threads. Now, this is very similar to what Twitter does. In fact, it's identical. But there are some differences in features. Like Twitter supports 10,000 characters, Threads only 500. Twitter Blue now supports 2-hour-long videos, and Threads just short 5-minute ones. Now to the second question. Why now? Why have they launched it now? Because Twitter is going through a really tough time. There are lawsuits and fines around the world, and there is Elon Musk. Not everyone is happy with his policies. This week, he decided to limit the number of tweets you can see. Unverified accounts can only see 600 posts per day. New accounts, just 300 tweets in a day. In other words, you cannot doom scroll forever. Musk has also decided to put TweetDeck behind a paywall. His end goal is this, to turn Twitter into a paid service. Beyond all this, you also have the political issues. Elon Musk has brought back all the banned Twitter accounts, the likes of Donald Trump and Jordan Peterson. So those on the left side of the political spectrum are unhappy. They say Twitter is a toxic place, as if it wasn't before. But either way, this is what they say, and this is where things stand. And Instagram's top boss has been watching all of this. He says Twitter's volatility has opened a window for them. Their own executives are not shying away from the comparisons, the comparison between Twitter and Threads. Some are calling it Twitter, but sanely run. Well, it's just begun. Also, Mark Zuckerberg needed something new. He was worth $140 billion in 2021, and now just over $67 billion. His metaverse strategy had backfired badly. So this is the new bet. Which brings us to question number 3. Should Elon Musk be worried? Well, from the looks of it, yes. He paid $44 billion to buy Twitter. Back then, it had a monopoly on public conversations, but it doesn't anymore. Plus, the idea of linking Threads and Instagram is a good one. I mentioned that Twitter has 400 million users. Guess how many users Instagram has? 2.3 billion active monthly users. So Threads doesn't have to go around hunting for users. There is already a big pool available. Social media analysts say it could cross Twitter in the blink of an eye.
I think Threads is going to pose a huge threat to Twitter because it's coming from the Meta and Instagram family of apps. Instagram has 2 billion users compared to around 250 million of Twitter, so it's about 10 times bigger already. So if only 1 in 10 Instagram users tries using Threads, it's overtaken Twitter in the blink of an eye.
So Elon Musk has plenty of reasons to be wary. And this is clearly a personal battle. It's not just Threads versus Twitter, it's also Zuckerberg versus Musk. Both men agreed to fight inside a cage last month. That may not happen. But this digital battle is equally entertaining, and it's happening. Musk hasn't said much today. One Twitter user said that Threads has copied Twitter's interface. Musk posted a laughing smiley below that. But beyond that, nothing. Zuckerberg, meanwhile, is taunting Musk. His last post on Twitter was in the year 2012. But today he tweeted again, this famous meme of 2 identical Spider-Mans. So to answer my question, yes, Elon Musk should be worried. And now to the final question. Should you be worried? I think we crossed that bridge in the last decade. We should have been worried then. We should be worried now. On this show, we always talk about geopolitical rivalries, India versus China, China versus the US. All of that pales in comparison to big tech. These companies are worth billions of dollars. Some of them are bigger than national GDPs. Around 32% of the world population is on Instagram, 32%. Almost every world leader is on Twitter. These companies know all about your personality and your choices. And some of it is harmless, yes, like your music taste or the kind of food you like. But some of it is downright dangerous. Facebook knows whether you're pro-abortion or anti-abortion. It knows whether you believe in climate change or not, whether you support radical ideologies or not. That's a lot of power for anyone, especially private companies. If Elon Musk wants to, he can flood Twitter with one type of content, say about climate change. If Zuckerberg wants to, he can flood Threads with another type of content, say systemic racism. And these companies have been known to do this. They've done it before. Remember the Cambridge Analytica case? They collected personal data from millions of Facebook users, and this data was used for political advertising. Same with Twitter. It's been accused of bolstering hate speech. So let's not get carried away with these cage fights and billionaire rivalries, because these men are gathering unimaginable power. Cambridge Analytica was in the 2010s. Today, we are even more addicted to social media. These are bigger beasts. So there's no saying what the outcome will be. So what should you be doing? Well, at this point, there's very little that you can. Abstaining from social media seems pointless. So we're better off asking governments to do something. They know how powerful big tech companies are. They also know how dangerous they can be, but vested interests keep them from taking action. Some leaders like Elon Musk's so-called free speech absolutism. Others like that Zuckerberg is taking on Elon Musk. So there's no saying how things will evolve in the next couple of weeks. A lot depends on word of mouth. And if there are no glitches or setbacks, Threads could pose a big challenge to Twitter. So Elon Musk has some thinking to do. And we're not done with social media just yet. I have a list for you. These are the biggest social media platforms in the world. You can see which countries they belong to. The top 4 are American: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, WhatsApp. Then comes WeChat and TikTok. Both of these are based in China. You also have Facebook Messenger, Snapchat, and Telegram. So these are all American or Chinese. Now let me show you another list. It shows the number of social media users in each country. China is at number 1. They have around 1 billion users. India is at number 2. We have close to 755 million users. Then comes the US, Indonesia, Brazil, Russia, and Japan. Now, if you contrast these two lists, there's a story. The US and China have large numbers of social media users, so they also have a lot of homegrown social media platforms. But India doesn't. We are number 2 in market size, but not even a single Indian platform makes it to the top league. Why is that? And to be clear, Indian social media platforms do exist, like ShareChat, based in Bengaluru, or Koo, which was supposed to rival Twitter. But each of them has a different problem. Koo doesn't have enough users. They had around 9 million users in July 2022. But by January this year, it was down to 4 million. So it's losing traction. ShareChat is doing better on user count. They claim to have 180 million active monthly users, but they're not profitable. ShareChat is burning money. They fired 20% of their staff in January this year, so user count alone may not be enough. You need to check multiple boxes. The question is, why haven't Indian companies been able to do that? And we'll get to that question. But first, let's also look at India's social media landscape. Around 52% of the population in India has internet, 52%. Every month, there are 470 million active users. They spend around 2.6 hours on social media. They use around 8 social media platforms, so the potential is very much there. By the next decade, India will be the second largest market for social media advertising. China will be the first. That is the projection. Why then have Indian platforms not emerged or taken off? We can think of 4 major reasons. Number 1, we are a late entry into the market. The social media boom was in the late 2000s. India completely missed that bus. We can still catch up. But for that, you need a revolutionary feature or addition. Like TikTok, it came up with short videos. WhatsApp came up with direct messaging. Twitter became a town hall. So far, Indian companies have failed to do that. Most of them have only replicated foreign social media platforms. So that's one reason. Number 2 is the brain drain. Don't think that Indians are not building social media companies. They are. But Indians are doing so in the Silicon Valley. Indian entrepreneurship is still work in progress. You can't have top talent working mostly for foreign companies. You need them to stay back and to innovate in India. Reason number 3, the need for massive capital infusement. We're talking about a very busy space here. You're taking on the likes of Google, Facebook, Twitter. Is it possible? Yes, it is. But you will need hundreds of millions of dollars. Who will take that bet in such gloomy markets? Plus, big tech is like the ocean. The big fish eat the smaller ones. Think back to WhatsApp and Instagram. When they became a threat, Facebook just went ahead and bought them. We can't rule out similar things in India. We talked about ShareChat. Google has already invested some $300 million in that company. So money is the third reason. Reason number 4, India's language barriers. American social media platforms use English. Chinese social media platforms use Mandarin. What language will Indian ones use? There is no exact data on English speakers in this country. But in 2012, a report said 10% of the population in India knows English, speaks English. Now, ideally, there would be an app that transcends language, maybe using AI or translators. No one in India developed such a platform. Guess who did? WhatsApp. You can now use WhatsApp in multiple Indian languages. And these are just 4 of the major reasons. I'm sure there are many more, smaller ones. In 2020, Indian tech firms had the perfect opportunity to go big. TikTok and other Chinese apps had been banned. Everyone was looking for an alternative, but none came. So Instagram took over the market. Right now, it's probably too late. Even if you innovate, there is no guarantee of success. If you do something different, Facebook can do it. In fact, they can do it better. This Threads platform is the best example of that. If something as established as Twitter can be challenged, what hope do new platforms have? Having said that, it's important to keep trying. We are in the middle of a very crucial decade. We don't know how things will pan out. So here's hoping there will soon be an Indian Twitter or Threads. After diplomatic ties, let's discuss interpersonal ones. I'm talking about dating. It's not for the faint of heart. On paper, it seems easier than ever. You have social media, texting, video calls, plus an abundance of dating apps. Users bounce between Bumble, Hinge, OkCupid, and Tinder, pile up matches, message back and forth. They want to find love at first swipe. But more often than not, it doesn't work out. So enter real-life Cupids. They call themselves dating coaches, and they've become quite a phenomenon, a global phenomenon. Our next story is about one such coach. His name is Chai Pak Yin. He's based in Hong Kong. He teaches men how to flirt and seduce women. But now he's been sentenced to community service. He's been found guilty of overcharging his clients, something to the tune of $69,000. Not a story with a happy ending. But this is the worst case scenario. In most cases, these dating coaches are like any other life coach. They have expertise in the playing field of love. Their courses include personality training sessions, outfit makeovers, and group retreats. And we're told they also give you homework. They modify their programs with changing times. If there's a boom in dating apps, they'll train you how to create an attractive profile online. If there's a pandemic, they'll guide you over video, chat, and text. Different tools, but one goal: helping you navigate the long, winding, thorny road to true love. It is a lot of work, and it comes at a cost. Anywhere between $20,000 and $8,000 a month. It is a vast range, yes. It depends on where you are and what is the scope of your program. And this industry is booming. Worldwide, it is now worth $13 billion. And it's growing every year. Dating coaches are also earning millions of views on YouTube. They're releasing books. They're hosting conferences. Turns out more and more people want a love coach. The question is why? Experts say there are 2 big factors. The first is that colleges have a guy problem. I mean, female university students now outnumber male students the world over. So 54% of college students in the world are women. Apparently, they're looking for dates and they can't find them. Then there are the pitfalls of online dating. It can be toxic. In 2020, 37% of online daters reported facing persistent unwanted contact. 35% received unsolicited sexually explicit messages. So women are seeking professional help for safe dating. And there are obviously other reasons too. But these 2 trends make dating difficult, especially for educated, successful single women. And they have, unsurprisingly, become the target market for love coaches, these women, at least in the West. In Asia, it's still a man's world though, especially in India, where about 80% of the clientele is male. But trends and prices aside, let's ask the golden question. Are these courses worth it? Would you hire a dating coach? Well, it depends on who you ask. Many say they feel happier, more fulfilled. If not in their romantic pursuits, then in their singlehood. Because ultimately, these programs work as confidence boosters. They give the jilted and the brokenhearted tangible romantic goals. And their love lives a structure, perhaps. In a way, it can be called romantic upskilling. And it's getting more takers by the year, even if the results are not guaranteed. But then again, with love, they never are. And for our last story, let's talk about food. It's one of our most essential needs. We work day and night to put food on the table. A lot of us do. We can't survive without it. And you know what's the biggest threat to our food security? Soil. You can't grow crops without fertile soil. Floods and droughts get worse if the soil is not healthy. But due to constant damage, it has continued to degrade. In some places more than others, like in the European Union, where 60% of the soil is unhealthy. So now they have proposed their first ever soil law. What is this law and how will it help? Our next report tells you.
The secret world beneath our feet is mind-blowing. It's an astonishingly diverse ecosystem, home to millions of species of animals, plants, and microorganisms. Roughly 90% of those species are yet to be named. We depend on this magical ecosystem for 99% of our food. Yet, we barely know it. Soil. It's the source of all life on land. But its future looks bleak. Since the Industrial Revolution, about 135 billion tons of soil has been lost from farmland. And within the next 60 years, the world's topsoil will be gone. We have pushed our soil to a worrying state, and over time, its health has grown poor. This is true across the world. But in Europe, the soil is in a terrible state. 60% of it is unhealthy. It takes thousands of years for soil to form, which means urgent protection is necessary. And now the European Union wants to do exactly that. In a first for the continent, the European Union has proposed a soil law, a law intended to undo damage done to the soil. It would require member states to continuously monitor the health of soil, fertilizer use, and erosion. But why was this law required? Because soil degradation poses a great threat to humanity, and the biggest risk is towards food security. Healthy soil is the basis for food production. We know this. And over decades, we have abused this fact. Intensive crop production has depleted soil. And think about it, the global population is projected to exceed 9 billion by 2050. There will be competition for land and water resources. So, let alone feeding the growing population, sustaining even current levels of production might be impossible. At best, food will be very costly. At worst, there will be no food. Both quantity and quality will be worse. And climate change won't help. Higher temperatures reduce the level of minerals, protein, and vitamins in crops. Already, zinc deficiency affects over 1 billion people across the world. We don't talk about it enough, but it's an existential threat. Especially because what we do with our soil contributes to climate change. Agriculture is one of the main reasons for global warming. It leads to 30% of the global carbon emissions. And you may have learnt this in school, but soil stores carbon. So marginal improvements to soil can help us. So the EU's proposed law has clear benefits, but it isn't perfect. Many say that the law may propose general goals, but it doesn't set country-level targets. Critics say the plan lacks ambition. And this may be true, but during these rocky times, maybe a weak soil law is better than no law.
And now it's time for Vantage Charts, images that tell the story. An exciting day at a US theme park in Wisconsin turned sour. A roller coaster ride malfunctioned. 8 passengers were suspended upside down for hours. And speaking of amusement parks, a popular roller coaster in North Carolina was closed after a viral video showed its support pillar with a crack. An upcoming venue in Las Vegas called Sphere was put on trial. It is being hailed as the world's largest spherical structure. Spain kicked off the historical Bull Run Festival of San Fermin with thousands of attendees. And finally, what makes the 6th of July significant? We are taking you back in history to the year 1942 when 13-year-old Anne Frank went into hiding in Amsterdam to escape the Nazis. Today, she's world-renowned for writing the Diary of Anne Frank. We're leaving you with these images. Thanks for watching.
Interesting. Can't see him. So that guy's up there just talking to the people, trying to keep him calm. Little steel thing. That's kind of like a safety switch. That's stopped. Make sure he's okay. Yeah.